Hello all, welcome back to the Exposing Grief YouTube channel. Would you know what we do here? We remove that stigma of grief and we begin to expose it for what it truly is, which is this natural and healthy way of living and loving. Happy June! I'm doing things a little bit different this month. I'm bringing the interview to you first and then the educational video to you near the end of the month for the purpose of Father's Day. The interview talks a little bit more about Father's Day, so in honor of that, I wanted to post it before Father's Day happens. So this month, I'm sitting with Ryan Moravetz with Brighter Days Grief Center in Eden Prairie. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump right into it and see what Ryan has to say. Hello, everyone. Happy June. Happy Father's Day to those who are fathers and who are fathering children or grieving children. Happy Father's Day to all. I'm excited to bring this month's interviewee to you, Ryan Moravetz with Brighter Days Grief Center in Eden Prairie. I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to turn it right over to him. So Ryan, if you want to share a little bit more about yourself, what got you into this line of work and the role that you fill at Brighter Days.
Thank you, Brittany. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today. Love what you're doing on your YouTube channel and love just getting the conversation out there. It's important that we talk about grief and make sure that we can support one another through this challenging time for us all. So again, my name's Ryan Moravetz. My wife and two kids and I live in Cottage Grove. I'm currently a grief counselor at Brighter Days Family Grief Center. Like most of us in the field, I've had some personal losses in my life. My dad, my grandma, my uncle were all killed by a drunk driver when I was 15 years old, and really just want to try to walk alongside others and sit in their space and to sit in their pain and to help them navigate through the difficult terrain of grief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I appreciate that you feel comfortable enough to share that with our viewers, because I think oftentimes that we know grief is such an isolating experience, but then to be able to sit with professionals and those who are guiding them through that process, there can be another level of comfort of like, oh, they're also human. They too have experienced their own loss and grief. So thank you for sharing a little bit of your story. Is that what led you into this line of work, or what got you into the line of grief work?
Yeah, so it wasn't until several years later where I chose to actually address my grief. Avoidance is a common coping mechanism for many, and myself included. Didn't really want to get into the grief, didn't really want to approach the pain, chose to suppress everything. And finally, when I did address it, it was through working with some different support groups, different grief coalitions in the community, as well as seeking out a counselor that I could speak with one-on-one. And it was kind of in that space where I realized that there's not a lot of resources out there for the grieving community, and it was at a point where I was starting to get a little burned out in the corporate world and just felt like maybe I could do something a little different, do something that could maybe try to help the community a little bit more than what I was doing at my corporate job. So yes. Then I just took the leap of faith, quit work, and went back to school. Just graduated with a master's degree and pursuing licensure as a grief counselor.
Yes, good for you. Congratulations. We need more in the grief field. The grief specialty is very, very small. So we always need people who know what they're doing and understand grief and are passionate about guiding others through their journeys. So thank you. We're excited to welcome you in the field.
Yeah, thank you.
So tell me a little bit more about your role at Brighter Days and just Brighter Days in general and the services that they offer.
Yeah, so it's hard to really accurately sum up what exactly Brighter Days Family Grief Center is. We pride ourselves on being able to connect families, connect individuals with various organizations and partnerships in the community. We address the need for additional support. So Brighter Days knows that there's certain challenges with grief, with the psychosocial aspect and getting the emotional support, whether it be through groups or through individual counseling. But we also recognize that grief is even messier than that. All of the logistical challenges that come with losing a loved one, all of the financial challenges that come with losing a loved one. And oftentimes it's sorting through estates, whether there was an estate or not. Figuring out meal planning, how are we going to get groceries sometimes even just getting yard work done or speaking with a financial advisor. Everything is just so consuming. And when we are in the depths of our pain and grief, we don't have the energy to take on any of that. And we have a number of partnerships where we can offer free consultations, whether it be through probate attorneys or financial advisors, to address some of those extra challenges so that you can really just focus on you and your grief. Within Brighter Days, we have our family grief series, which is a group for the entire family to come out. Kids as young as 4 years old on up come out, and kids and young adults are put into different rooms with other kids and young adults their own age. Gives the kids an opportunity to talk about their person, to share stories about their person. They don't have to be strong, or they don't have to pretend to be someone that they are not. They get a chance to connect with other kids and discover that they aren't alone, and that there are other kids that are also going through a similar hardship. While the kids are doing their thing, the parents are doing something else. We have optional support groups for the parents and caregivers, whether it's a spouse loss group, or it's providing extra education around how children grieve and what parents can do to help support their child in their grief. And that's just one of our programs. We have several different support groups ranging from parent loss to suicide loss to child loss. We also have our Camp Aaron, which is an annual grief camp for kids where they can come out and spend the entire day together. We have an overnight Camp Aaron in the fall where it's an overnight weekend camp. And when people think about a grief camp, they think that it's going to be sad and painful. Camp Aaron is an opportunity for the kids to also have some fun doing some of those summer camp activities you think of. You think of summer camps, roasting marshmallows around the fire and playing games outside and running around doing music and arts and crafts. Camp Aaron is all of that too, but there's also a really important balance that gives the kids an extra opportunity to check in with each other and to talk about their special person that they've lost. So lots to really say about Brighter Days. Minnesota is known to have a lot of state-of-the-art facilities. You think of Hazelden being for state-of-the-art treating drug addiction and alcoholism, and you think of Melrose and the wonderful work they do with eating disorders. Mayo Clinic down in Rochester is world-renowned. You think of Children's Hospital, yet there's not really a grief center just yet. And that's what Brighter Days is doing. Brighter Days has been around for over 5 years. We just celebrated our 5-year anniversary.
Yay, happy anniversary.
Yeah, we're excited. The future is looking really bright, I guess, no pun intended. But we are in the middle of a capital campaign, raising funds because we want to build a grief center where families can come out and bring their kids and talk about the challenges that they're facing.
Yes,
and
fantastic.
It's all a nonprofit. The best part, it's free of charge. Everything I just mentioned, completely free of charge.
Which is great. It makes it so accessible, and it helps remove that isolation of grief that we had talked about, but also, especially for the kid programs, it helps them find that balance, like you said, right? So it also normalizes their experience, but also in a way of, a lot of my clients will talk about others only seeing them for their grief, or, oh, they're just a widow, or, oh, they're a grieving parent. So your groups do a nice job of, yes, we're going to address that, but we're also going to help you recognize and get you back into this piece of, you are someone outside of your grief. So I just love that you guys create that platform and you make it so accessible to those who really need it.
Yeah, I love what you just said, Brittany. We are separate from our grief. It's important for us to recognize that we are still a person, and there is still a way for us to move forward. We don't ever move on, but we try to find a way to move forward.
We grow around the loss. Yeah. So with all of these incredible groups that you talked about, just in honor of Father's Day for this month, can you briefly touch on the Bereaved Fathers group that is offered at the center and what that looks like, and just kind of walk us through that group in particular for those dads out there who might be grieving?
Yeah, it's a day of mixed emotions for many. Mother's Day, Father's Day, our country's quick to dismiss the idea that it's not a happy day for all. In fact, it's estimated that almost a third of the population is without their moms and without their dads on these days where we are supposed to be happy. So you think
Mhm.
about the people that are grieving their parent. There's also parents that have lost a child. That is also a really devastating day. So we have one of our groups is the Bereaved Dads group that meets monthly. All of our groups are peer-led. They are not facilitated by a therapist or a counselor. It is an opportunity for you to come together and meet other people that are going through a similar loss. So with this Bereaved Dads group, it's just for the dads. The wives have another group, the Bereaved Moms group, that they can attend, but this group's just for the dads, where they get a chance to connect with each other and talk about their child in a room full of other dads that do know the pain of losing a child and that can relate to the challenges that come with that. And it gives them a space to talk in an environment where they're comfortable and they feel safe and they feel supported. And really wonderful group of guys. I know a lot of them firsthand, and very welcoming, always encouraging people to come out and to talk about it, because there's a lot of pain that comes with child loss specifically. So that's what that group is all about.
Wonderful. Yeah. And I appreciate that you offer both for mothers and fathers, which of course you would, but yeah. And what a great thing to just have a space to, because oftentimes that's all people want, right? They just want to be in a space that other people get it. And sure, getting the therapeutic aspect is a benefit, right? And there are some people who will actively seek that out, but oftentimes I'll sit with clients like, people in my life don't get it. I need to be around people who understand. So the fact that you can create those support groups free of charge is amazing for our community.
Yeah.
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 How would a family know if they would benefit from the services that are offered at Brighter Days? What might they look for?
I really think it's important to, I tell a lot of the people I work with that I'm not the expert in their grief, that they are. They are the expert in their grief, and they know what feels right for them, and they know what they're capable of, and they know whether the timing is right. We talk a lot about grief being it's a process. It's a journey. There's not a finish line to it. So in terms of recognizing that and knowing that it needs to be, the timing needs to be right for you, and it needs to be comfortable for you. We're not going to dismiss you if it's been X number of months past the death, and we're not going to dismiss you if you're coming in the day after the death. It really comes down to what you are willing to take on when you are ready to talk with someone, to talk with a group, to talk with a counselor. So that would be my first piece of advice: is really trust your gut, go with your intuition. Be kind to yourself, and recognize when the timing feels like it might be right, but also be mindful if the timing doesn't feel like it's right. And we encourage you to just be compassionate with yourself, and to give yourself some grace through that process. But know that we are here whenever anyone would like us to be.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Yeah. Many clients will ask me around certain things, but like, how do I know, right? Like, how will I know when ABC, or how will I know when this or that? And the best thing I can tell them is you'll know, right? We talk about these gut responses or whatever, this just doesn't feel right, or I don't know, it's listen to that, right? So there really, I think there's no, well, first this is going to happen and then this is going to happen, right? It truly is what you had said of just listen to your gut, and you'll know if it feels right or if it feels like too much, but then at least they have you guys as a resource already, and they know where to find you when they are ready. And it feels like it does fit in their process.
Yeah. And when it does feel right, we know, and too, Brittany, that it can be intimidating to reach out and ask for support. It almost feels like for some it's a moral failing that now they need to seek support, and we don't look at it that way. A lot of our culture thinks of it as, if you're going to ask for help, it means that you've given up, so to speak. And anyone that's lived through the loss of a loved one understands that grief is arguably the hardest thing we ever have to do with our lives, and we don't want anyone to feel they have to grieve alone. So it's not people coming to us with a broken mind. They're coming to us with a broken heart, and how can we provide a space for them to talk about their person in an environment where they don't have to worry about those rude comments that are off the mark that we oftentimes receive from the general public.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Is there ever a situation in which brighter days may not be the best step for someone going through their grief journey?
Great question. We certainly want to make sure that we are providing a service and that we're not doing any harm. So, Brighter Days is specifically in the grief and loss space. We don't work with mood disorders. If someone has underlying debilitating depression or anxiety or OCD or any other kind of mental disorders, those tend to be referred out. We do also recognize that some people are dealing with a really traumatic loss. Depends on the death story itself and how their loved one died and whether they saw it and what the circumstances of the death were. And oftentimes what research is showing with the trauma specifically is that when you have traumatic bereavement, oftentimes the trauma needs to be addressed before you can even access the grief. It literally is kind of peeling the onion back. So you have to kind of address the trauma to even access the grief. So the reason why I bring that up too is that we want to refer that out as well. We want to find other professionals. Brighter Days we recognize we are one piece of the puzzle, and we want to make sure that we're putting people in the best possible situation for them. So whether they stay at Brighter Days for short-term support with us, or they continue to come to groups for as long as they want, or it could be a referral depending on if they have underlying challenges in other domains of their life.
Yeah, beautiful. And nice to know that, yeah, for sure. Come to us, let us know what you need. And if we can't meet your needs, don't you worry. We've got resources that can meet your needs. So it's kind of a one-stop shop, which is great. Because then oftentimes people will be left with this question of, okay, well, I need to work on my trauma before I can do my grief work. Where do I find a trauma therapist? Right. So it's nice that they can get some of those referrals from you, or at least have some sort of direction from Brighter Days.
Yeah. And grief is exhausting. People don't have the energy to go on Google and type in, trauma near me or grief support near me. So we have partnerships with close to 100 different organizations. Our website is full of really good information for people that want to try to find useful information that's all in one place. You don't have to spend hours and hours. We've kind of done a lot of the work for you so that you don't have to feel so overwhelmed with everything.
Yes. Oh, that's perfect. Yet another perk of Brighter Days. Okay. So for those of the viewers who are interested in kind of taking advantage of everything that Brighter Days has to offer, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you, or their way in kind of going to inquire about these services? What's the best way of doing that for them?
Yeah. If you have internet and have access to a computer, my first recommendation is to check out our website, brighterdaysgriefcenter.org. Lots of information on there in terms of how to best connect with us, as well as some of the other resources that are available in the community. Also, you can call us at Brighter Days, 952-303-3873, and we would be happy to help you with anything you need.
Wonderful. And I'll be sure to put all the contact information for Brighter Days down below, so it's easily accessible for all you viewers. Well, Ryan, is there anything else you'd like us to know, or that I didn't touch on, or any last words that you'd like to share with our viewers today?
I just, again, want to thank you, Brittany, for the wonderful work you're doing. I love the idea that you've put together with this YouTube channel, just exposing grief and talking about it, because our culture views death as taboo for some reason, and it can feel really isolating. So I love what you're doing. I love how you're breaking down the barrier and just getting it out there. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. So thank you, Brittany, for everything you're doing for the community as well.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's an absolute privilege, and I love being able to create that space for the people who need it. And this too is a great way for people to start approaching their grief journey without fully diving in, which I think is a nice thing that Brighter Days offers as well, of, hey, just check it out, right? Look at all the resources that we have, kind of start tapping into what you might want, and then we can go from there. So these I think are a little less intimidating ways to kind of start doing that work, to help them honor their grief journey. So it was a privilege having you on. I thank you for your time. I know you're a busy man, so I appreciate you taking the time out to chat with our viewers today. And viewers, like I said, I will have all the contact information. Ryan, if anybody would want to directly contact you, is it okay if I put your email below as well?
Absolutely, please do.
Perfect. So I'll have Brighter Days contact information, and I'll have Ryan's contact information if you want to contact him directly. Otherwise, Ryan, thank you again. Keep a lookout for the content coming later in June. We're going to talk about some of the common grief dynamics that you might experience, and I give you some different exercises to navigate that. Please subscribe if you have not, so you don't miss any of the content. And Ryan, I can't thank you enough. Have an awesome June, and we will see you guys later.
Thank you, Brittany. Take care, man.
Thank you, Ryan. What a plethora of resources available at the Brighter Days Grief Center in Eden Prairie. Thank you again for your time and sharing your wisdom and everything that is available to our community and those even outside of that. Viewers, if you are interested, as I mentioned, Ryan's contact information is below. Please feel free to reach out to him or just Brighter Days Grief Center in general if you need any help. Please reach out to me if you have any other questions. If you are interested in what your grief journey might look like and what doing the grief work might look like and starting that healing process, I do offer a free 20 to 30 minute consultation. You can access my email below and we can set that time up if you're interested. Please subscribe to the Exposing Grief YouTube channel if you have not, so you don't miss any of the other content coming your way. I will see you back later in June to talk about some of the most common dynamics that we experience while grieving. So be sure to stay tuned. Happy Father's Day to all of those who are fathering children or grieving children. You all deserve to be recognized and we're all thinking of you. Take care and we'll see you later in June.